Hello and welcome to Reanimated. This is Stuart. I'm in
That was
California.
that was an amazing dramatic entrance.
Thank you. That was H.A. Conrad. She's in New York.
Hey.
Is it spring now in New York? It's spring. It was
Um,
officially spring here yesterday.
so officially, according to the, equinox, but it could be false spring. We've had a couple of false starts here, and it's March. Anything could really happen.
I'm in fall summer, so I don't know
Yeah, you're in
what here.
false drought. I don't know what's going
It's
on
not
out
false
there.
drought. I mean, yes, it is because yeah, but a week of like 90-degree weather in March
Yeah,
is is not great.
no.
Had to run the air
Mm.
conditioning this week, which is insane.
Oof.
Weather talk aside, this is Reanimated podcast about zombies. Today we decided to take a look at This Is Not a Test. We've been talking about it for a few months, and we have a little bit of news to talk about too. And I think we will begin our news talk with there's been a fair amount of little articles around the internet about the zombie episode of The Rookie, Nathan Fillion's show. I haven't had the chance to see it yet. I haven't really watched more than two episodes of The Rookie, but I'm more and more motivated to watch it as I listen to his podcast, Once We Were Spacemen.
I agree. I watched exactly that, two episodes and at the beginning, and then I did not. So maybe I
But they're
should
in
give it
eight,
a
they've done
shot.
8 seasons.
I know. Yeah, but this looks, I mean, I'm excited to see this. And also we were talking about the big announcement they were coming out with last week, and they are indeed doing a semi, I don't know, it's a reboot, but of Firefly, but
Is it a
animated.
reboot? I
I
don't know
don't,
what the story, I don't know that we know where the story is picking.
we
Although,
don't.
Wash
He's alive in
Alan
this.
Tudyk is involved in this project, so yeah, maybe it's a prequel to
Yeah,
Serenity.
so but they're doing it animated and they're looking for a house for it. So some of what they are doing is just a big publicity campaign. I have a feeling they will be successful. I'll admit to you, I was really hoping that it would be a movie, or I didn't think that they could reboot the series just because all of them have such crazy filming schedules now and obligations. But
I feel
I
like
was kind of hope
voiceover work is easier to get accomplished.
yeah, yeah, and timing wise, all that stuff. But I was kind of hoping for another movie, but all good. I'll take it, whatever it is. I will take it. I'm excited for them to do this. And I have been really enjoying the podcast quite a bit, so that's been kind of nice to have a revisit to that whole world. Very sad though that Buffy was not rebooted, but I don't know, maybe they'll get there with something else or with some other um I don't know, maybe somebody else will pick it up, but that would be nice. And I don't know, it was like that's also kind of sad news because Nicholas Brendan died yesterday, which is complicated because he had a lot of issues the last few years. But you know, going back to these little shows that I really enjoyed and still enjoy, like sometimes rewatching, though I haven't really looked at I haven't watched Firefly in a long time. But I'd be
I've been
excited to see
rewatching
it.
it recently, so yeah, it's still good. It holds up. The writing is good.
The
I
writing's
see I
good.
I see some people complain that it's too quippy like Marvel,
Yeah.
but that has never bothered me. Call
Nah.
me.
So did you watch it just if you're rewatching it, do they have the episodes in the correct order? Because that was actually something that they pointed to as a
No,
problem
no, they
that
start with the pilot is a 2 hour the pilot. I know that the train heist was supposed to be the first episode
yeah.
theoretically, but I think it works fine the way that they released it. I mean,
All right.
maybe there's an argument that I don't know that sells it better with the train heist being number one, but the pilot works pretty well for me. Introducing River and all that the way they do.
All right.
Yeah.
I may rewatch it now too, but anyway, I'm excited for all these things and we'll have to see where they land. But I'm really delighted and they seem very excited too to revisit these characters, so that's kind of fun. Um,
Yeah. So that is that's coming. I guess we don't really know anything because they're still trying to put it together,
yeah.
but that will be they're working on it. Uh, Also in the news, speaking of things being worked on, are some casting announcements for season three of The Last of Us. These casting announcements include uh who are we talking about? Michelle Mao, who, if you watched season 3 of Bridgerton, season 5 of Bridgerton, is one of the Penwood daughters. I think
Oh,
the less likable one. I forget her name
hmm.
on the show, but she was not the most. Have you watched that season of the most recent season of
I
Bridgerton?
have. I
Yeah,
have. I don't remember the name either. One
yeah,
is Poppy, but I
Posey or
think,
Poppy Polly. Yeah, but it's not her. It's the other sister.
yeah, it's
So
the other one.
she's gonna play. Golly, what is her name? She's Lev's sister, and Lev is gonna be played by Kiriana Crater, who was in Skeleton Crew, who was like the cyborg kid in Skeleton Crew who had the visor. Um, and so these are pretty central characters to the plot of what's going to be happening in season 3. So I'm excited to see that they've been cast. And I think, I know immediately very high profile projects that both of these people have done. So that's cool. And then there were a couple of other, Rosamund was the
Hmm.
name of the sister that Michelle Mal plays on
Oh, okay.
Bridgerton. The other two casting announcements were a couple of dudes, Jason Ritter and Jason Patrick. Is that right? Two people like that. Those aren't their names, but it's two guys. I don't know what roles they're going to be playing, but they're probably going to be playing Seraphites or maybe like random wolves. Oh yeah, Jason Ritter, Patrick Wilson, and we've already announced this that they've recast Manny. Now it's going to be Jorge Lendeborg Jr. Jason Ritter as Hanley, Patrick Wilson as Jerry. I don't know who these people are.
Hmm.
So that makes no difference. But really the two that are worthy of notice here are going to be Lev and Yara is their sister's name. So it's cool. I'm excited. I'm still excited. I'm going to remain excited until it comes out. But I
All
think that's
right.
not going to be until 2028,
All
which is
right. Well,
insane.
that is crazy, but we will wait with bated breath and can't wait to see it when it
Don't
finally
don't
does.
bait your breath. Just keep breathing normally because it's going to be forever.
Mm.
Speaking of breathe normally, there's a new trailer for the video game, the medieval knights versus zombies sort of game called Blight. It's they released this trailer because they've hit 1.5 million wish lists on Steam. This is a big deal. It shows that people are interested, but it also being wishlisted on Steam requires no skin in the game by the person
Uh,
who just clicks this button. So
hmm.
while it's cool, it's a number. I think that they were just like, hey, by the way, yeah, a lot of you like this stuff, but I don't know. Like, is does that really convert into sales? I think on some level it must, but it probably isn't the. It's probably better to get like pre-orders,
Hmm.
if in the video game sales business, but I assume that this is like a good sign. They can show their publisher or whoever is giving them money to continue developing the game, like, hey, look, we got a lot of people interested in this, and so it probably helps in that respect. But the trailer that they've released, you can see it on IGN or on YouTube. Just look up Blight. It's extremely gory. It's just
Ugh.
like guys in armor beating the crap out of zombies with all kinds of horrific medieval weapons, which absolutely up my alley. I'm very excited to do it.
Huh?
This I think is going to differ from the God Save Birmingham medieval game that we've also looked at a trailer for,
Yep.
because this feels a little more empowered. These are knights who seem to be unstoppable killing machines versus that very skinny, malnourished peasant who seems to be the hero of God Save Birmingham. And I look forward to finding out more about that game and this one. Neither of them, as far as I know, have a release date, but they're both like, obviously, the fact that they just put out a new trailer for this bodes well. It's still working. They're still putting it together, and I'm excited. And when it comes out, HA, I will, tell you all the stories about the bloody, disgusting ways that I'm
Great.
killing
And
zombies.
and you're gonna play the heck out of that.
For sure.
And speaking of blights, there is apparently a newly discovered spider species in the Ecuadorian Amazon that is mimicking the cordyceps fungus infection. So the people that discovered, the researchers that discovered this, actually, I think it was a herpetologist that discovered this, thought It looked like the spider had been kind of taken over, had like all the sort of growth and everything like that. And then realized that no, that's not the case, that the spider was actually mimicking it. So this is just really strange and weird. But they did a whole research, they did a lot of research on this, and then they published their findings more recently, I think just last month. And so it's really kind of fascinating. I don't even know how you really study something like this. But basically, it sort of had all the signs mimicking itself all over its body, like the sort of like outgrowths and things like that. And they think that they're doing this to basically bait prey. This isn't a type of spider that does like uses like a web or anything like that, but basically kind of pretends to be infected and then takes advantage of the situation because the prey isn't thinking that it's a threat. So anyway, like we needed more disturbing things to be happening right now, but there you go, mimicking fungus spider or
I'm
something.
confused about this. Like they found multiple spiders with the same with these
Yes,
properties, I assume.
yes.
Like
Hmm.
what
So
it's growing like as when they mature, these spiders are like, okay, time to put on my hunting suit, and then they just start to
yeah,
grow
yeah, pretty
growths.
much. They also have some theory that they're putting off like a pheromone scent that also attracts prey, and so with the combination, they're able to basically stay on top of the food chain, at least in their world. But I don't know, nature's wild, so I thought that was like a weird article.
Quite
But
literally.
anyway, speaking of nature, nurture something, I don't know, this doesn't really
Wilderness, wildness.
wilderness, wildness, this doesn't really tie in, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. This is my lead into our review, not which makes no sense. But anyway, today we are going to be talking about This Is Not a Test. We have been talking about this for quite a while. And so I will admit to you, when I first saw some of the trailers for this, I was getting a few like Black Summer vibes. So maybe that was a little bit of what made me excited to see this. As always, we're going to be spoiling the heck out of this. So if you haven't seen it, just turn us off now or listen later. So that's your warning. But anyway, I am interested to hear what your thoughts are on this. But it does have a fairly like a cast. Some of them have been in a few different things, like Olivia Holt, and Froy
Gutierrez.
Gutierrez, and then others have been in smaller things or like there's a special guest star, I guess. Luke McFarlane has been in. He plays like the lone teacher, but he's been in a lot of Hallmark things. But you know. It's not a super well-known cast, but it is a good cast. So I had some high hopes as it started out. It's got a
Ooh,
very,
showing your hand a little bit.
I am showing it. I'm showing it. I'll show
I,
it
I
all.
I will say this was the third best movie we've seen this year
Really?
for this podcast, but we've only seen like four movies, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's
Um, my very patient and loving spouse sat and watched this with me and was like, "This is the best movie I've watched with you, and it's terrible." Uh,
Oh dear. No, my mine did not watch this one with me because I think the last one was like too much. But in any case, it's got so part of I think why I was getting the Black Summer vibes. It's like very desaturated, in terms of it feels like that.
it's also a lot of running around in the streets of
Yeah,
Canada. Like
yeah, it's the same.
it's not Alberta, but it's Ontario. But
Yeah.
they filmed this during winter. I will
Hmm.
say right up front, like you could see that this production is not loaded with cash. What did they say? They made this for like $200,000.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't all
So
that much.
almost that's basically a shoestring, but we've definitely seen cheaperly made movies. Um, it's pretty good for that budget, and I think that they make up for the lack of budget with the way that they shoot it. A lot of a lot of like close-ups and of our hero characters and a lot of just running around and frenetic action. Like that makes up for the lack of, let's say, effects or real. I mean, the few times that they do use makeup and gore, it's pretty good.
Okay,
But
so
the zombies don't have a ton of effects on them.
they don't. Okay, the things I liked about this, I thought the filming and editing was great. I thought the effects and their use of it was great. But I did think that given the budget, sometimes you're hoping that the script and the character arc is in the building, the relationships between the characters. That's where you're kind of hoping that it will make up for some of that. And I don't feel that it did.
Yeah,
I think they missed.
it wasn't like the best, but they did put some effort in, you know.
Sure, but they could have done a lot better. And there's so many opportunities here to make this truly great. And like the storyline and those relationships were pretty thin. And so I was really bummed out while watching this,
Yeah, I
just
mean, and that
because,
was another similarity to Black Summer was the fact that there wasn't a ton of deep plot,
right.
right? Like you were saying, like because it is a lot of like basically the story of 4 or 5 days at the beginning of a zombie apocalypse. If you remember back to Black Summer season one,
Mm-hmm.
most of what they were trying to do was just GTFO. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we stop being terrified all the time? Like, let's get out of town. And
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot of the plot here too, except that then they do introduce some other stuff. And I will say the beginning of the film is pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And
In
that's,
5 minutes, they really lay out a lot of the
yeah.
overarching terrifying
And
stuff.
I guess that really raised my expectations because they did a really good job, I thought, especially in the first 10 minutes of this film, building that up. And I'm like, oh, we're on, and I'm like, oh, this is excellent. And then it kind of just lost that trend. So I think we start out with the main character of Sloane. And there's a lot built into these first few minutes, and I really loved that. She's about to commit suicide and basically is interrupted by a zombie apocalypse. And
Well, no, at first she's interrupted by her dad coming
yes,
home, and then
and it's more.
they have a horrible meal together.
Yeah, but the good thing about this, and that's why I guess I got a little disappointed later on, is that even within these few moments where they don't have a ton of dialogue, but there is a lot of ground covered here, you totally understand that she's living in an abusive situation, that her father is definitely like, this is a dysfunctional and terrifying household to live in. You can understand why she may be looking for an out, and we already know that her sister is left. Like, so they cover a lot of really and do like a good build with this. Um, it's a really great, to me, a great start because you have the tension and the threat between like from him to her,
mhm.
and then that completely gets superseded by what suddenly happens outside.
And it's not like a slow build up to a zombie
No, it's
apocalypse.
immediate.
It's they're having a terrifying family moment that's interrupted by a more terrifying apocalypse,
Yeah.
which I
So
thought was pretty cool.
And it was really great how they handled this because they also do a lot with what you're not seeing, more what you're hearing. And so like her dad goes to kind of check out whatever's going on, and all hell just kind of breaks loose. But for a few minutes, she's just kind of hearing like sirens and screaming outside, and she's hearing what's going on like in the front room. And it's really the Foley editor, good job.
Yeah.
Um, but this and then it just like zooms right into it,
Oh,
so within.
speaking of Foley editors, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just do a real quick red herring, but like how cool was it that Sinners won all those Oscars?
Oh well, do you want to go back and splice that in because
No,
we
no, no. I
probably
just
should
say
do
like
it.
it was cool. It was cool. I don't know. Like
I was
I was
very
really happy that
very
a film that we reviewed for this podcast ended up being an Oscar winner. That was cool.
Yeah, I was also happy about the fact that the first woman cinematographer finally got an award. I thought that was awesome. And Michael B. Jordan, I thought like again, I'm so thrilled that he won that. I think he really deserved it. And so I was happy that I was a little surprised they didn't walk away with more, honestly, but I am very happy that
Well,
they
they had
got.
some good competition.
They did. But it was really, I thought it was well done, Sinners creatives. That was awesome. Um, But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
So I think, this first few minutes, really, I was like, oh, we're so on. This is going to be a continuation of what we just saw. And we have the main character of Sloane running through the streets. And um, it's, we don't know what happens to her, but it does like a nice cut right into where she and some other kids are in like a school. And so it's interesting how they play with time a little bit here. I liked that a lot. Where we don't know what's happened except when we see her in the gym, her whole face and everything is covered with
Yeah. I
blood.
couldn't tell that was her for a while. I
Yeah,
was like,
it was
oh, that's
so
okay. We've missed some stuff.
I thought that that was really interesting how they managed that, and I thought it was handled very well, and we do a flashback eventually. But it's interesting because we're already in this school. Lots of things have happened to these characters, and they've got to take out the principal, who I guess is still there. Um, and they do it in a way like they know what they have to do, which is like
Yeah.
this is pretty rough, like how they do it because they
Well,
do it
we
with the
get to
guy.
see also the hierarchy of like who's taking charge and who's handling business in this. And it's
Right.
mostly one guy. It's mostly Carrie, who's
Yep.
like the jock who's wearing his school branded sweatshirt
Yep.
and basically just and then you got Reese who is probably my least favorite character in the film, but is also like the love interest
Yeah.
for Sloane. And he's just always kind of like following people around and being not that helpful.
Well, this is a little bit of what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna build him to be her like interest, make him interesting. He's not. He's just kind of quiet and he
Yeah,
has a couple
he has no depth to him. I mean,
no.
he's helpful. But he's just following around all the time like a puppy.
Yeah,
He does actually save her life in the flashback,
he
but
does.
uh that's he doesn't do a ton.
Yeah. He
Um,
does eventually like have a little bit of a, we hear like what happened to him,
yeah,
but they kind of build it up and then it's like, like he's just
I
not.
was expecting him to be because of how little they were doing with him. I
I
was
thought he was gonna be
expecting him.
bitten.
Oh,
I thought
no.
he
Well, maybe a secret bite hider, or just like he was going to be evil and try to, screw everybody over.
yeah,
But they didn't do that either.
I thought he was for sure hiding a bite. That's what I was thinking because I thought that's how he had knowledge that they were cold or something.
I
I was
mean,
like,
when we do this jump ahead to after the title credits, the dad is already bit, right? Like
yep,
that happens in the open. So
yep,
we see him basically working to protect his daughter, although obviously terrifying character in his own right. He's working to protect her, gets a terrible bite, but then kills a zombie, and she does that very typical first 10 minutes of a zombie movie reaction where she's like, "You killed that lady," and then she runs
hmm
away. And
yeah,
he's left in the house kind of screaming.
yep. Um, but he was already a threat before, so I think seeing him do this is sort of confirmation that he's even more of a threat to her, and she's like, I gotta go away from him as quickly as possible. So that
We
makes
get to
sense.
see more of his stuff in the flashbacks in this film, but I was convinced we were going to run into him again.
I was too. I
But
really
it's
thought
so
that
weird
that
that
was
we
gonna
didn't.
happen, and we didn't.
Yeah.
So, um,
So after
yeah,
they get into the school and they're trying to like block all the doors and windows, and at some point, I feel like it's around, no, it's not long after they get into the school and she's looking at her phone at one point. They go into a flashback. And
yep,
the flashback is of one day before. It kind of picks up right from when she ran out of her house and she's just running down the street,
yep.
diving out of the way of cars and runs into basically Carrie and Reese
hmm
as she's hiding in somebody's backyard. And then very quickly they run into the amazingly named Grace and Trace.
Yes. Although let's talk about when she runs into Gary and Reese, because before they do that, this is another part where I was like, oh, they did such a good job with this. Because she's running away from a zombie and she's starting to go over this fence, but they do a really good job of her like stopping and starting and like barely getting over before the zombie comes. I was like, they really ratcheted up the tension there.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is so good the way that they manage this. And
What
um
Black Summer would have done was have her barely get over that fence and then have the zombie run right through it.
right, right. True, true.
Which is what
I
happened to
actually I
poor
thought I thought that's what they were
Lance.
gonna do. I thought
Yeah,
that's what
I
they were
kind
gonna
of
do.
did too.
But
But I think they purposefully, well, that zombie is just like a guy with blood on his face in a
mhm,
bathrobe. He was not a made up. hero
No, no,
zombie
no,
style. And they
no.
only had one or two of those in the film, which is fine. And they did it in a good way, but it was just noticeable. But then so she runs into Reese and Carrie, who are immediately like, "Oh, hey, we know you, or we know your sister. We all go to the same school. Come on, let's go." There's like no drama or tension about falling in with this crew of other high school kids. There is a little bit of drama because when they meet Trace and Grace, brother and sister, they still have a parent with them, which is their mom, and she's just crashed her car, and then they're going to the rec center. It's a very quick, it's a brief stop at what would be considered a organized place to evacuate. There's it's not amazingly done this scene. It's mostly blurry. It's a crowd scene with lots
Yeah,
of people fighting and arguing. And then there's in the background, very blurry, is a guy in
yeah,
with a helmet on and military uniform yelling in a megaphone. And like I think what it's doing is showing it's just panic, it's chaos, nothing is good,
yeah,
everything is terrible. And then they run away from there when there's a gunshot. So okay, it kind of does the job, but it's just like
yeah.
well, I think again, it's just this movie showing its budget.
It is. And it created a few more questions for me though, because they ran to the school. I can't imagine that other people wouldn't have had that idea,
Yeah.
especially the students. So that seemed a little bit weird to me that it would be that
I mean, maybe they
abandoned.
did, and these guys just got in there first and locked all the doors.
Locked all the doors as possible. But even then, when they get in and it's a big space to secure,
But
but
we're
they,
not there yet, HA, because we there's this flashback goes on for
oh,
quite a
that's right.
while, and then there's a
That's right.
flashback within this flashback, which I am never
Yes.
a huge fan of, but
I am not, but we have to talk about
we
it.
do
Yep.
get into that. So they with mom, Trace and Grace's mom in tow, the what is it, five kids and mom break into this house and or enter this house, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna stay here. And there's all this like leadership squabbling between mom and Carrie. And it's yeah, I understand where mom's coming from. Carrie I'm not sure why he feels like he knows what to do best, but he does, and he kind of has
Mm,
he does for the whole film. He just puts out that like, quarterback energy, I guess. So he's always kind of telling people or trying to tell people what to do, and she doesn't want to hear it. And I thought that was okay tension. But did you not like it?
between her and Carrie, I thought it felt a little forced. I do think I like kind of where it went with them, which is that she's like managed to save her children and she's very focused on that. And honestly, does like, but the thing that, she has a good idea in terms of like escape plan, and that's how they got out of the house, which is that they like went through the upper floors or whatever.
Yeah,
And,
originally, right? Not in the,
um,
as it
but,
turns
but
out,
then
that's not how it goes.
but then they make the whole mistake and they go downstairs, and that's just dumb. And
Yeah,
like to me, it's like, okay, you had a plan that you know was going to work, so why are you putting yourself at risk,
because it
all of
didn't
you?
sound quite right. But then again,
Yeah.
I don't think the sounds they were hearing matched up with what they saw when they got downstairs, which was a broken window. Like they
Yeah.
weren't hearing a window breaking.
Exactly. So that felt weird too. But anyway, they get out into
They
the
thought there was
street.
like an animal with their garbage cans. But we've also HA had another flashback because they sleep overnight in this house. And in that sleep time, Sloane goes back to some period of time when she had blonde hair. And she has like her sister drops her off at school. And we get this history of how close she is with her sister Lily and the fact that dad has been beating them both. And I know you're planning to leave home soon. Please don't go. I don't want to be here by myself. And Lily's like, I will never leave you alone, or I'll make sure he can never hurt you again. I just need some time.
Right.
But also, is that also in that flashback we see the conclusion of that where Lily gets beat up and then leaves home, or is that a later on flashback?
I
I
think
think it
that's a
might come.
little later.
Yeah,
But either way, I mean, it's clear that they're in this really horrible situation. And,
yeah,
I think, I actually thought that perhaps the father had killed Lily.
yeah.
And
When he threw her down the stairs, yeah,
yeah, or that maybe that was not everything. So I actually was thinking it was a lot worse that because he said he makes some comment in the first scene where he's like, "Oh, she left and she's never coming back," or something like weird like that. And I was like, "Oh, maybe she actually is dead and he buried her in the backyard or something." I was thinking it was going to go in that direction.
Yeah.
Um, but um,
So
but they
she
do a
went,
really
yeah, they do it really?
they do a really good job at the relationship between the sisters and how traumatizing and difficult and horrible it must have been to live in that
Yeah. And
environment.
how much Sloane relies on Lily. Like
Yeah,
she idolizes
yeah,
her. They do a good job of establishing that Lily is really the one taking care of her sister and promising that she'll take care of her. And so we start to understand a little better why Sloane is in such a dark place and
yep,
like contemplating suicide.
yep,
Um, so a lot of what Sloane does in throughout the film is like silently observe and get out of situations where there are weird group dynamics that she's not cool with. And she does that throughout the film, and
hmm
that's I think supposed to be explained by where her head is at, which is disassociating a
right.
lot. So she comes out of the flashback within a flashback to hear the noises downstairs. They all go downstairs despite mom having the plan to go out the window, and she tries to execute that plan, but Carrie's like, "We have to secure this house," which does not totally make sense.
No, no, it does not.
And it goes very badly, and then they're surrounded. Uh, and then they run outside, hide behind
And,
a house,
and they're
and
they're surrounded, but then they run outside and they're conveniently not surrounded.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I think they were, throughout this film, zombies seem to be able to sense the living, which is kind of a scary mechanic. It's not like unerring ability to find the living, but they show up at where the living are
they
in a few
do.
situations where the living are being fairly stealthy, but the zombies are like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, "Where you guys at?" So like they weren't making any noise in this house when that zombie ran through the window, right?
Correct.
And later on in the high school, there's a scene where suddenly the high school is surrounded, even though they've been fairly chill.
Yep.
Although you could explain that away through with Mr. Baxter's shenanigans, but
Yeah.
um, so they run out into the street. They're looking around, or Carrie is in the front, looking around this corner and relaying like, "Oh, this might be the way to go. There's our high school. It's got reinforced windows. Let's go. It looks clear." And so then mom from the back of the line, apparently just wanting to wrest control of her fate from Carrie, is like, "Okay, everybody follow me," or something like that. Runs
Yeah.
out in the street and then is surrounded.
Yeah.
It's like this felt a little manufactured, but also it could happen because these are fast zombies. Like Carrie says, he's like, "Look, they move fast. We all got swarmed out in that street." Because Trace and mostly Trace, the boy, is very upset that he thinks Carrie murdered their mom.
Right.
I mean,
And
do you feel they never went anywhere with this plot other than just being like, "Oh, it was just, you know, a bad accident."
I think it was probably just a bad accident. If it was deliberate, they didn't make that clear. But you could kind of see where Trace is getting that idea from.
He
But
always goes to the worst
yeah,
possible
yeah,
scenario.
yeah. So, I also have to say that usually anybody who's wearing these kinds of running suits that the mom is wearing tends to turn into a zombie or die in these films. So I kind of thought she was gonna be fodder for the for the zombie machine. Um,
She bravely tells her kids to
she
run and
does.
kind of sacrifices herself, or she doesn't really have time to even sacrifice herself. She just kind of
Right.
stands there and gets destroyed. We haven't mentioned also this is a period piece. It's set in 1998.
Yep.
So we've got like old model
Yep.
Infinities. We've got people wearing
Old cell phones.
old cell phones. We've got people wearing grunge kind of big plaid shirts throughout the film. It's 98. I'm trying to think, were skinny jeans in at that point? I think maybe they were starting to come in.
Maybe they weren't really in. They were still like the flares at that point, I feel
Yeah,
like. And
and
then they
one or two.
started
There's
to.
one or two pairs of those kinds of jeans, but what I didn't see that I was hoping to see in Trace, I guess, is kind of wearing them as like really wide leg jeans.
Mm,
But it was interesting that they made it a period piece. I'm not sure why exactly they wanted to do it that way.
I don't know.
Maybe to
But
escape the cell phone
iPhone
issue. Yeah.
issue. Um, though they do use, I was like, man, that is an old phone. The one that she was using, it was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I did want to talk to you just about their sort of their whole thing in the school in terms of their the way that they you I don't want to say use the school, but I guess maybe you could call it that way. But the way they are like, okay, we're going to stay in the gymnasium, even though we can hear all the zombies, and it feels like that's a little less secure than, say, other places in the school where there's clearly like more of an escape plan. I guess I was really bothered by the fact that they, to me, still kept staying in these like vulnerable areas when there were places that were a lot more secure. So that was part of what was troubling me about this. Like the library, that's probably where you should be because you can lock those doors and you're not going to have pesky people like Mr. Baxter wandering in off the streets and surprising you. Like you could keep that relatively secure versus this big gymnasium that has multiple entry points and also seems, I don't know, the way their barricade was looking, I was a little troubled by that. How are you feeling about
I
that? I
like
mean, there's like this,
the barricade by the gym had like little stairs that went down to the back
yeah,
door, which they were using to
yeah,
like prop stuff in there and keep those doors closed. So I thought that was actually pretty good. The fact that though that once the zombies suddenly out of nowhere show up and are
yeah,
yeah, like Sloane even just goes and sleeps on the floor in the hallway somewhere else where she
right.
doesn't have to hear them.
Yeah, but
But
when
I
it,
like the fact that they picked this gym, sure. At least they have mats that they can sleep on. And
but it's not like you can't bring them up to the library and lock
yeah,
that
right.
door
You
so
could have just
nobody,
walked those somewhere
you
else.
know?
They have their they raid the cafeteria for their fruit cups and their moldy bananas and pieces of bread. So and they're like, we got food for months, everything's fine. I thought that was good that they paid attention to those kinds of
Yeah,
details.
I liked that for
But
sure.
then the movie from here, it kind of putters along, I would say.
Yeah,
Like there's some stuff that's happening in the school, but this is where more of our like group dynamics are getting weird. We find
yeah,
out that Trace like leaps to conclusions and seems to be just kind of a psycho.
yeah, he's a little nuts.
And we see that Grace, his sister, apparently is a fun-loving,
Yeah,
sensitive, empathetic person. And Sloane is weirdly shut down. We know why, but and Reese is really just giving her puppy dog eyes and following her around a lot, right?
mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Carrie is just like coming up with plans and trying to keep everybody alive in a way. Like I don't know that like the leadership, his leadership, it's not really for everyone. It's kind of like, hey, if you're with me, I'll take care of you, but it's mostly him taking care of himself. Would you
Hmm.
agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah. Um, yeah, I'd agree with that for sure.
So like I'm trying to even remember because my notes are a little patchy on this one. What even happens before Mr. Baxter shows up? Is there any like I said, at one point there's a weird cut to her
Yeah.
running around the halls, and then suddenly it's because there are zombies outside the doors and she's checking doors, but that was like that comes out of nowhere.
It almost feels like a weird. I thought it was at first a dream sequence. I also thought there was a potential that she was infected from having gotten all the blood on her face. I just wasn't sure where they were going with that. But then it turns out there's actually a reason. So, um, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
and
don't
one
know.
night there's an explosion and the zombies all leave. And then it's not for again a day or two before Baxter appears in the school.
Right.
And this guy, I think they want the audience to be a little conflicted about what happens to him, but also not. He's creepy as hell. He's
Yep.
lying to the kids constantly.
Yep.
So the way that things go with Baxter are, I think, well, it's unfortunate the way they go ultimately, but they should have gotten rid of him much faster than they tried to.
Yep. Um, and I also think they didn't. I think there was ambiguity here, but I don't think that there needed to be because he's so weird and strange. And aside from the fact that then discover that he's been bitten, and maybe that explains a little bit of his weird behavior, um, I just feel like they would have been a lot more protective of themselves with him. They don't interact with him like an authority figure, even though he clearly was the teacher of at least two of them. We know this because Reese and Sloane go into his classroom and talk about the last time they were in there, and so we know that this is their teacher. So I didn't feel like this was handled in the way I think this group is now sort of being protective, and the fact that he got in and they don't know where he got in from is really disturbing.
And he doesn't tell them that.
No, and the fact that he's been basically stalking them is also super creepy.
But you're not sure
And
if you believe that because Sloane is kind of a weirdo. And you're like,
yeah,
did she believe? I mean, part of what she saw in the gym was her dad, right, as a zombie, I thought.
yeah.
So she was having weird visions or dreams. Had he been in the gym and weirdly caressing her face,
Oh,
and
I
then
think
was
for sure.
sneaking around in the hallways when she was getting water out of the water fountain.
Yeah.
And yeah, the weird element of one of the strange things about this, the relationship with kids and adults, like you see in maybe something like All of Us Are Dead, when there are adults involved in these groups, they're the ones calling the shots and they're the voices of reason for on some level. Um, in this one, the mom is really just looking out for her own kids and doesn't like being told what to do by Carrie,
Mm,
but he has no problem telling an adult what to do. Right. And
yeah,
in
no.
fact, in the house in the first flashback, he's like, "We should have just left you bleeding in the street." Like
Hmm.
he starts out extremely aggressive
Yep.
with this adult who he doesn't presumably know, and then with Mr. Baxter, he comes in kind of like a kicked dog. Like when they find him, he's passed out. He looks like he's been through the ringer, so he doesn't come in with authority. In fact, he's telling them
True.
not to call him Mr. Baxter. He
Yeah.
doesn't give them his first name. They're just calling him Baxter.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So,
So, but it's weird. Like the relationship kid to adult, plus all these actors are probably in their mid to late 20s. Like, it is what it is.
yep.
That's all. That's all I'm saying. Like, Olivia Holt was 27 or 28 when this film was made. So
Hmm.
not a high school kid.
No. I guess like the thing with Mr. Baxter that really bothers me, it's like, okay, we have these first interactions with him and he's just super creepy. They decide to like sort of eject him. And the thing that really bothers me is that he has shown just how untrustworthy he is. So the fact that we then get to a point where Carrie even gets bitten by him, I don't know that any of them would be getting near him. And I
Yeah.
think to me, even when we see the beginning, Carrie, when they're in the school and Carrie takes out the principal, he just like gets business done. I think it's a little different when you're dealing with somebody who hasn't completely turned, but I just don't. It was hard for me to believe that Carrie would have put himself in this
Yeah.
vulnerable position with him.
The thing that Baxter's asking for here is like, hey, if you're gonna kick me out, at least open this door for me. And
Yeah,
Carrie's
it
just like,
seemed
okay,
ridiculous.
but
Yeah,
you
like
don't need somebody to open that door for you. It has
no.
a push bar. You just have to lean on it, and you'll be outside.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Carrie, yeah, this was pretty
This bothered me.
manufactured,
Yeah.
but you know, and then he's bit quite badly.
Mm.
This leads to somehow Trace has gotten a hold of the gun that they'd taken off of Baxter when he got into the school. Trace having a gun, worst scenario ever. This is one area where it's a terrible idea, and he doesn't always have the gun, but he ends up with the gun later again in a way that is extremely frustrating. Um, but so when Trace has the gun and he sees that Carrie has been bitten, even though Baxter has been exiled, then he's like, all right, now Carrie has to get out because he's been bitten. And then his sister has to talk him down. And that was quite frustrating also.
Indeed. Mm.
So they put Carrie into quarantine in the nurse's office. Grace gives him uh, quite careful medical attention. And then they're going to lock him in there and leave him in there for a few days is the plan. And I think what we basically have, oh yeah, Sloane goes to bring him food and sees that he and Grace are hooking up. By the way, I don't know if you watched the credits. This film does have an intimacy coordinator.
I did,
Just for
and
that for that scene
that
and the kiss
scene
that
and the
she
kiss.
has, because she sees that, she drops the food on the floor like I'm not sure exactly what we're supposed to take away from that. And then goes to
maybe
find Reese and smooch
maybe
him.
she's just like, oh wait, we could be
I'm
having,
wasting my time bringing somebody food, but I could be getting laid. Come on.
yeah, like it was kind of funny.
It's just funny that I guess everybody's fine with Carrie being bitten except for Trace because his sister is literally in there having sex with him. As soon as he's
Yeah,
been put into quarantine, she must have gone in there and been like, "Hey, so let's talk about these
yeah,
feelings we've been having."
yeah. If she doesn't talk, she's just like, I'm gonna kiss you. It's pretty good.
Uh,
So
then as soon as the sexy times are over, they're like, "Wait, we never checked the boiler room," which is what Baxter had said on his way out of the school, and I can't believe that they let these kids be this dumb.
yeah.
Like they didn't even go look to see if he was just gonna come right back in the same window he'd come in
Right.
before.
You'd think you'd want to block that at least lot. I mean, look, if you don't want to explore the boiler room, which I would understand, probably just at least barricading that area off
They did
is,
open it with a key, which I thought was interesting. So that door was locked at least in one direction.
but then how,
Yeah. Then
never,
how the hell did Baxter get in? Not sure. Maybe he had
mm,
keys because he's a teacher. But
yeah.
also, we know that these zombies love to run through windows. We've seen it twice already in this film.
Mm,
And they haven't blocked off all the windows, especially in this boiler room area. Anyway, so they find this body that they say checks out his story. So he's telling the truth, which I don't know that they would necessarily think that means that he wasn't bit by a zombie, because part of the whole drama was he was bit, but bit by a human who, though
mm,
he, in his own story, had also been bitten. So I
yes.
don't know. Like the transmission here is not exactly like a very low rate or chance that he also has passed it on to Carrie, but they
Right.
really don't go anywhere with that.
Right.
And not much time passes before we learn that Baxter has once again broken into the school.
Yes.
They've come up with this plan in the meantime, though, too, that they want to go to Rayford because the radio that they've been listening to has changed its message from shelter in place to there's a shelter in Rayford, but it's 100 miles away.
Yeah, but like I don't know about you, but talking about medical processing was making me worry a little bit that this is a bit of a scam, similar to other movies we've seen, but we never learn eventually what that is. But I thought it was like, oh no, is this like to just attract everybody so you can take everybody out?
Yeah,
I
and you
don't
know what?
know.
They might have stayed at the school. Trace, for whatever reason, to me is the voice of reason in this scene where he's like, "We have food for months. We shouldn't leave the school." And I would agree with him if they'd done a better job of securing the school, which they clearly have not. But it's like day one that they've started this message about the shelter. I would give it
Yep.
a few days,
Yep.
like let's see how this shelter thing works out.
Pans out, right?
If the message changes again, then maybe we can go to the next thing or see what they say.
Yep.
But yeah, like I would not be out on those streets if I didn't
Mm-mm.
have to be.
Right.
But yeah,
Um,
Baxter, they never f figure out where Baxter comes from the second time he enters the school. I don't think they even look at it.
right. And he's in such bad shape. Nobody should be getting anywhere near him.
Yeah,
And
Grace is so stupid here.
they know enough about it. Carrie and Grace are stupid for getting near him in the beginning and getting near him now. I
Yeah.
mean, he is in really bad shape. He's
Like the last
clearly,
time they were with this guy, he bit one of them, and
yes,
goes down and gets next to him like, "Oh, you poor man."
right,
Like, what?
right.
No, dude. Uh,
Yeah.
and then this goes quite predictably badly. I didn't necessarily think that Trace was gonna shoot his sister.
Mm.
But they're all standing there kind of frozen in shock as he turns and attacks Grace. Sloane's the only person who really jumps into action and tries to prevent him from eating her. Then Trace remembers that he has a gun and takes a shot. And then Carrie takes the gun from him in disgust and just walks up and shoots Baxter in the head.
Mm.
But then we see that, oh, of course Trace shot his own sister, and she dies quite suddenly from that.
Yes, she does.
It's a frustrating sequence because why did anybody think that Trace should have the gun? And after the scene, he doesn't. Like Carrie has the gun. Also, Sloane has had the gun during the sequence because there was a oh that was earlier. But there's a whole bunch of this gun trading, but then Trace ends up with the gun again after this scene.
Yeah, Trey shouldn't have the gun.
Trace
It's like a
for
bad
sure
idea.
shouldn't have the gun. And after Grace has died, and he comes back to the gym and starts to kick Sloane in the stomach multiple
Right.
times, blaming her for his sister's death.
Right.
Uh, she runs away. The two other remaining boys, Reese and Carrie,
Hmm.
they say that they dealt with him, or
But
they
what
say
does that
he
mean?
will not hurt you again. We've taken care of it. But really, all they've done is apparently given him back the gun and put him in a room with his sister. Like that's what that
Yeah.
makes no sense to me. I'm hoping that the book that this is based on dealt with this in a smarter way, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It,
It was also extremely telegraphed what was going to happen when they're packing their bags to go. She's gotten a text message from her sister.
yeah.
Even those
And
cell signals are all have been out for a while. The message
yeah.
apparently says, "It's safe to come home. Where are you?"
Right.
And so she's like, "All right, let's go to Rayford, but on the way we're going to stop by my house and find Lily." And
Right.
the boys are like, "Okay, let's go. We'll do it. No
Yep.
problem. First, let's get Trace on board. We need him and we need that gun." I'm like, "Well, why the hell does he have the gun in the first place, girl?"
Right. And also, and this like does eventually play out, but I'm like, you don't, it doesn't seem like you have more ammunition. So
Well, yeah, they don't, but
how useful is this thing? And also he is clearly
yeah,
he is
it's
he is just untethered. So I
yeah, it was
and
very obvious that he was going to shoot himself in this scene.
yes,
There
yes,
was
I
no
was
part of me
like,
that thought he wouldn't.
I know that that was exactly what was going to happen, and it's what happened.
It's a
And
little disappointing that the way that they deal with this weapon, when a pistol like that runs out of ammo, it's going to lock open with the slide back or something, and you'll see the empty chamber there. And they don't do that. Otherwise, they would have known that that was the last bullet that was in the magazine. As much as they've done a decent job of being like, oh, we've got food and we've got water, they don't show us the logistical thing about this weapon because that should have had like 15 rounds. Granted, Baxter was out in the streets shooting it probably, so he
yeah,
might have gone through all the bullets. It's totally understandable that the gun would be out of ammo, but they don't show us that it's out of ammo.
right, right.
So when later on she goes to use it and it's like click click, but it looks like a loaded weapon when she has it in her hand, so it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. So yeah, so now we are down to three people and
And
they're
then
running
there were
around
three.
and then there
Yeah.
were three and then I mean, I did like the sort of like the challenges in getting to Sloane's house. I thought that some of that was really well done, but some of it was also like again, we're locked in a house and oh, we're surrounded and then oh, suddenly Carrie has to go in, sacrifice himself. The only thing I thought here was that maybe Carrie is, thinks he might be infected or something like that, so sacrifices himself. I don't know.
Maybe
So
they hadn't shown us anything to make us
no,
think that was the case. I also was convinced that he was going to show up again later.
I
Like
was too.
generally,
Yeah,
trope wise, you think you're going to see this guy again because he is
yeah,
that great. Like
yes,
he's been the guy the whole movie, taking care of all
yeah.
the
I
business.
thought he was gonna do a like, pop up and end up in the car with them and make
Yeah,
a
like
wild
dive through the
escape.
window as they
Yeah, yeah,
drive down the
yeah,
street.
yeah,
Something. But no,
yeah,
he's like, I'll lead them away. He runs off, and that's the last we see of Carrie. Like that's
yep,
it. You won't see him die. He's just pulling a lance, running off into the horizon.
yep. So
So they do a pretty smart thing here where Reese is not a Carrie. He's not going to charge in and attack the zombies that are standing around her house when they get across the street. He pulls a grate off of like the porch. They crawl under there and just sit there looking at the zombies in the neighborhood. Um, and I thought that was like at least showing that Reese is not the same as the other
right,
characters.
right.
But as far as development goes, it's not quite enough for this character still.
No, no. And then, him and Sloane drive off into the sunset to the
What?
hopefully to the
No, dude, you're skipping the whole end of the movie.
what? Oh,
Well,
yeah, the
they get
sorry.
into her house
This
because
is how much I
someone.
enjoyed
So
this.
yeah, you're like, can we be done? Someone
Yep.
has nailed up the outside, the door and windows, all the ground floor doors and windows on her home, and they can't. The doors locked, which is makes sense. I don't know why she thought she would be able to just run up and pull the door open. So they have to climb up and they get inside and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we actually made it. Can you believe it?" I'm like, "Don't get excited. Come on, Sloan, don't get your hopes up here."
Hmm.
Uh, they they don't see. the original zombie that had been killed in the living room by her
Nope.
dad, and they don't see her dad, but they go into like a, I don't know, like a family room down, not quite a basement, but like half a floor down. And as soon as you see this head facing the wrong way in a chair, you're like, oh God, okay, that's Lily's head, and she's
Yeah,
gonna be
it's
a
not
zombie.
gonna bode well when she
I
turns
did
her.
not see that coming
I
necessarily, but
did.
it makes the most sense that
Right.
they're gonna introduce Lily as a zombie because this is the person that she actually looks up to.
Yeah.
Like facing her dad as a zombie would have also been really difficult because she was already scared of him and now he's
Hmm.
even scarier.
Right.
So, but I do think that this packs quite an emotional punch.
Right. It does. And then she has to basically take care of business, and it's pretty brutal and kind of face to face with the person that you cared about, and they're not that person anymore. And instead of being your protector, they're attacking you, and that has to feel really just devastating.
It
And
was kind of an interesting move that she's calling Lily's name, and at one point in the struggle, Lily kind of stops moaning and screaming and gnashing her teeth, and she just looks at her.
yep.
But then she starts again, and then Sloane jams a
Yeah.
crowbar through her head. But I thought that was kind of an interesting piece of direction.
Yep. And
But
then
yeah,
they drive off into the
they drive off,
sunset.
and before they drive off, she just drops her suicide note out of the window of the
Yep.
car, and she's like, "Okay, I guess new lease
Yep.
on life with my new boyfriend Reese."
Yeah. Except they're driving towards the station or the set it's for medical processing. So
Yeah, I'm sure they'll
we'll
just
see
be
what
taken
happens.
into a room and shot probably when they arrive. I
Yep.
was gonna say, like, how could Carrie go to Rayford? He has a bite on his arm. Like, they're not gonna
Yeah.
let this
No,
guy
I
in.
actually thought that too. I was like, there's no way that this guy gets through.
It's probably for the
So,
best that he's just running off to be his own team's army of one.
yeah. So, yeah. So, like, I just I think the things that bothered me so much about this was all the interactions with Mr. Baxter, and then the lack of sort of development of sort of I think one of the things that they could have really done is between all the characters. I did not feel that there was a depth of connection between any of them really. And Reese especially is the one that bothered me. Like if you're going to set this up to be a love interest or to have any kind of impact, it felt like you should have done a little bit more with him. But
Yeah,
I did like the filming and the editing. I just thought this had a lot of potential that it didn't meet, especially given that those first scenes.
I
But
feel like they did try with Reese and Sloane. Like they had several times when he would go off and find her
mhm,
when she's gone off by herself, and they would have a few lines of dialogue, but I just don't think it was the right dialogue.
yeah,
It just did not
yeah,
it did not develop him enough. But I mean, it started to get there, like when he talked about how he'd killed his mom and dad.
yeah,
Um, when he talked about how much he knew how much she was a fan of her sister.
yeah.
It showed that he had been paying attention to her,
True.
but that he's also struggling with his
Right.
own stuff. I don't know what else I would have needed to see for his character for it to feel more rounded, but yeah, we didn't get there for me.
Yeah, and I guess as you said, I did expect some of the tropey things to happen. I expected her dad to pop up again. I expected Carrie to pop up again. Maybe I expected um, there just to be a little bit more to whatever the Baxter story was, versus just, where they went with it. But, you know, I, I will say you're correct. The budget was, for what they had to work with, I think they did a really great job, with a large number of the elements here. It certainly was watchable, and I don't regret watching it. I guess it's just the promise of those first few scenes, like the first 10 minutes I thought were amazing, and I was hoping for more of that throughout the film. So, and maybe I was just hoping for a locked in library fortress or something like that. I mean, that's true. A person can dream. Um, mm,
Yeah, I agree. I think it had some pretty cool elements. I like that they had a few cool little drone shots that were
yeah, those were
shooting
good.
straight down, moving across the city or this town that they're in, showing normal house, bloody corpse in the street,
Yep, yep.
one of the continuity issues that I did notice during this film, they shot it in winter somewhere in Canada, and some days were snowier than others. which
Mm.
was clear. And like some like one in one or two scenes they run outside and there are snow drifts or like banks of snow on the sidewalk. And in other ones there's not a single
Yeah.
flake of snow anywhere to be seen.
Well,
So,
there's also that the continuity with some of the makeup, especially when she first runs into
yeah.
Carrie and Reese. Like when she first sees him, he's got like a little bit of blood on him, and then if like there's just like an edit, and suddenly his whole half of his face is bloody. Like so there's continuity in the makeup and things like that that I think it's fine for a film budgeted like this. It just was kind of funny with some of
That's
those
hard to
edits.
do.
Yeah, it was hard to do.
I
So,
was been thinking about that. I've been watching the Ghosts UK, which is a really funny sitcom.
oh, I love that one. Did you
And
watch the US one
Mary,
too?
no, I watched one or two episodes. I didn't like it as much. But
Mm.
Mary, the old timey like I don't know. I think she was burned as a witch at the
Yep.
stake.
Yep.
The smoke on her face, the ash makeup on her face changes every episode, maybe every scene, and I think clearly on purpose. Like
Oh
otherwise,
yeah, definitely. It's
because it's a
good.
comedy. So, I
Yep.
mean, frankly, you could do a lot with blood moving all over a character in a zombie film too, if you wanted to make it a goof. But
I do like the US one. It's not, I think that they definitely have a different tone, the two shows. But one of the best things is when one of the characters he's from the Revolutionary War, and so he is totally um amazed because he didn't know about dinosaurs, so he suddenly discovers this, and it's kind of really funny. He becomes like obsessed with dinosaurs. So it's fine. It's not. I think the UK one is a better show, but it's still it's worth it. Sorry for
yeah,
the tangent,
no,
but
it's a good
yeah.
show.
All
This Is
right,
Not a Test was a decent film, and by me saying it was like the third best film we saw this year, I still think it's good because we've seen way worse zombie
that's
movies
true.
than this. It's just that it was Cold Storage really kind of knocked my socks off. So did We Bury the Dead. Uh, so
Yeah.
it's hard to
It's
compete
hard to
with.
match to match those, but also in fairness, the budget for those films were in the millions, and this one is 200,000. So I do like it when when a filmmaker does like makes a good effort like this, and like I think especially given that budget, I think they did an amazing job.
And I can't actually find the budget. I think I read off what they got in the box office, which was 200 grand.
Oh,
No
okay.
idea what the budget was for this film, but it wasn't a lot. You can just tell. So they
Okay.
were they were working with limitations, and I think that they
Right.
did a admirable job given that. And we will be back next time to talk about The Dead, 2010 film, British film set in Africa, pretty chill. I
Yep.
will say now, toodaloo.
Thanks for listening, all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Reanimated Podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, please email us at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find the rest of our episodes online at reanimated.podbean.com. And you can often find us on Discord at the Brain Munchers Zombie Collective with a bunch of other zombie fans. Our intro and outro music is produced and recorded by Colin Diaz. Thanks for listening and come on back for more zombie content from Reanimated Podcast.